This is your Daily 5 for Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. This week, only one of our commentary films was a movie that neither Lando or I had ever seen before. In one of the movies, we'd both seen it many times. In the other one, I'd seen it before and Lando had not. But the movie I'm talking about today, 1987's Bloody New Year, was a movie that neither of us really knew much about or had ever seen. So my original idea was to do a pair of New Year's themed horror movies, but after seeing this one, I changed that up. I wanted something that matched more of the kind of style for the second film that we watched. So we'll get into that on Friday. But Bloody New Year is an interesting movie because I can't say it's good per se, but it's very interesting. I think there's a lot of good material in it. And I would say it's probably around 80 to 85% the way to being a good movie. Not a great movie, but movies don't always have to be great. Movies can just be good. And especially when you're talking about a small-scale horror film, you know, there are great examples, but a good one of those is actually not something to be turned away. So being that close to a good movie, it has me thinking, okay, this should be remade. Using much of what's already here, not changing all that much. Not even adding all that much, but just tweaking a few things here and there, and we'll get into it on Friday. I'll keep this relatively spoiler-free. Just tweaking a few things, adding just a little bit of kind of edge polishing, not retooling the whole thing top to bottom. I think the core story works pretty much the way it is. So without giving it away, a group of young people end up on this small island where they find a hotel. And in that hotel, something had happened many years before, resulting in strange events. That's the simplest way to put it without giving anything away. We'll talk about it in detail on Friday. But your basic it's a very, very typical horror movie setup. It's not breaking any new ground, which I don't think is a problem. It's just, I'm telling you, it's not innovating things. It does explain its mystery to an extent very clearly when you get to the movie. So this is not going to be something where you have no idea why things are the way they are. That very clearly is explained. Now, where it gets a little murky is why, after a certain point, things are the way that they are. And that's something I think a remake could improve upon. The acting is pretty uniformly bad, except for one character who Lando and I both like because she seemed unusual for a horror movie protagonist of this time. But the other actors are not all that great. That's something you could improve without even having to spend a lot of money, but just getting better actors. There's not really all that many effects in the movie, or at least ones that aren't practical and even in-camera special effects, which I always love. There's one right at the beginning with a mirror that's very effective. So you don't need to spend a bunch of money on effects if it was remade. The atmosphere is often very effective. It has this dreamlike quality to it that really works. The pacing is pretty good. There's not a lot of dragging moments where nothing is happening. We have enough characters doing enough different things that we're always kind of bouncing around. Some of the editing is not that great. That could also be fixed. But honestly, somebody remaking this would not have to reinvent it from scratch. Most of what's here you could replicate and just fix those little flaws here and there and end up with a really solid film, a small-scale horror film. Again, one location on an island, so you don't have to spend a bunch of money bouncing all over the place. It's very easy to see how this could be remade, and in the right hands would be a really fun movie with an interesting premise that's blending a bit of science fiction with a bit of horror in an interesting way. And again, just fixing these small things and keeping the rest of the movie virtually intact as it exists from this 1987 version, you would have a fun movie. I could see easily this being on a streaming service like a Shudder original or Netflix original, where you don't have to dump $50 million and a bunch of locations and a bunch of high-name actors. You just take what's already there and you just kind of firm up the loose edges, which is not all that many, really. It's close to being a solid or a good movie. And so I would love to see this remade, but I would also recommend it to people. I think it's worth watching. I can't tell you it's a good movie as it is. It does have some weird issues. So I don't think you'll come out of it and go, wow, that was great. I'm going to buy that right away. But I don't think it's a bad movie either. I think it's worth watching because of the interesting nature of the movie in the form that it exists in. So again, 1987's Bloody New Year, free to watch all over the place. And for horror fans, take the time and check this one out. Later.